Hello people, welcome to the next episode of Late Friday Night's Banter Blitz. So the show that gives you an opportunity to play against me, but only if you are a premium member. So if you want to play against me on Fridays, and not only if you want to have the access to a great library of super instructive video series, so go premium, and you can do this cheaper using this promo code. All right, so Zweihoch Zax actually asked me kindly to play like Robert James Fisher tonight. Well, it will be quite hard because I'm not Fisher for sure. So the quality of my chess just sucks if compared to Robert James Fisher. But what I can do actually for you guys in this sense is to try some openings that Robert Fisher used to play. Not each and every one, but, well, some of them at least. So let's check for newcomers. So guys I never ever played before. So a typical thing that I do is playing against three guys I never ever played before. And then I just come back to normal order of challenges. So let's check if we have somebody I have never ever played. So, Antons from Germany. Accept. Playing with white. Alright. So there is nothing new. I mean, Fischer used to play e4. And g6. Okay. So it is accelerated dragon. But I usually play this. And this. Maybe Fischer also played this. Who knows? Have no idea. d6. This line, I guess Fischer never ever played. So he probably played something like bishop e3, f4, g4, castle in short, but this one probably never. Rook to c8. Okay, bishop to f1. So that is the point. I want to put my knight on d5 at some point. And my rook on a1 will start working in that case. Of course, if black captures. But in many cases, it is more or less forced. Alright, taken with the knight is something I didn't expect. I expected something like taking with the bishop. Taking with the knight is probably also playable, so my c2 pawn is under attack. Now the normal way to protect it is to play c3. Knight d4 is also an interesting option, but I'm not sure I have to be in a rush putting my knight on d4 here, so let's play c3. Let's start with this move. h6, okay. Bishop to h4. g5, okay. Just aggressive move, but it's not necessarily a big achievement for black, because this g5 weakens king side. And maybe at some point I can use it. Maybe. So here I can take. And now queen e2 attacking the rook and the pawn on e7 forces the rook back to c7. Is it a good idea for me or not? Well, probably not that bad, because actually rook on c4 is quite active. When it is on c7, it is no longer that active. I can start thinking of playing h4, maybe undermining this g5 pawn. Yeah, I think it looks good. Let's try it. Oh, rook e4. That's another story. So now I can play queen f3, attacking the bishop, which probably forces rook e1. Then bishop has to go somewhere, or maybe queen d7 should be played, where after I can still play h4. Another idea is to bring my queen to b5, attacking b7, which also looks quite interesting. So I don't even know which is better. So if I play queen b5, queen c7, rook e4, bishop e4, rook e1, bishop goes somewhere. Is it anything? I don't think so. I have a feeling that in this situation I have to place my queen somewhere closer to king side, in fact. So bishop g6. So right, now I can play h4 if I want. I can also try queen e3, attacking e7 and a7. Also nice stuff. So can I play queen e3? Let's check if I can do it. Now I can take a pawn. Now I can take a pawn, but after queen a8, black will have some counterplay. Black will have some counterplay, probably some compensation as well. So I'm not sure that it was a good idea in general. Maybe h4 now, or f4 even. f4 looks interesting, just to have a possibility to bring my bishop to f2 if necessary. I don't really like how I play now, because queen on b6 looks rather aggressive. But I still hope to use opponent's weaknesses on the king side somehow. So trying to undermine everything. What is possible to undermine here. And then at some point my rook will have a chance to get to the king side with the help of the lift. At least I hope so. Okay. Don't have a lot of time, so let's play something interesting at least. So I'm trying to exchange the bishop. Of course, I lose the pawn on b2, but there may be a possibility to capture the one on e7 at some point. And in general, I just activate my pieces seriously, so maybe I will have good compensation. Maybe not. I don't know. We will see. What is interesting, black doesn't really have a choice here, I think. Oh, this is another story. Now I think I'm much better. Much better. So this is just a very ugly pawn structure. And my pawns are great. Now I can take here. And the rest should be somehow connected with the rook lift to the h file, right? So rook e3 or rook h3 looks very nice. Okay. I actually cannot see a good defense now against rook h3. So if queen gets somewhere to... Okay, there is a defense in fact, but only if I play rook h3. Now there is queen e1 check and then queen e5 exchanging queens. I should be absolutely winning after knight b5. But I think I have even better continuation now, just since there are no checks. I have this move, knight to e6. After f e6, queen g6, and rook h3 checkmate. It's over. It's over now. Well, starting from, I don't know, f4, maybe we can consider this game in the style of Robert Fischer. So, something like, you know, grabbing the initiative, then playing super aggressive chess, and so forth. So, in my opinion, in general, this h6, g5 is overambitious. So, yeah, it looks like you're safe because you have a pair of bishops covering all the squares. But as we saw in this game, actually, at some point, I still have a chance to get there. So, after bishop c4, rook c4, probably rook c7 was a bit more accurate here, protecting everything, because after that, what happens? In fact, the rook on c4 was quite active, but after rook e4, queen f3, this exchange on e1, I managed to exchange the active rook, and in fact it was probably black's best piece at the moment. So now my pieces are better, because at least heavy pieces are much more active than black's ones. As for minor pieces, it's hard to say at the moment, but potentially, of course, I have some chances. Main problem for black in this opening line is the dragon bishop, so it is quite limited and it's really hard to find a counterplay. It's really hard to activate it. As for bishop f5 here, it has no real objects of attack, so I think white should be, well, maybe slightly better. Put this pawn on g6, I would say, yeah, it's hard to say if white has even a part of advantage, but with the pawn on g5, I guess white is definitely better because I have this play against these pawns. Okay, so I think it was better not to play h6, g5. In general, it is usually better to take on d5 with the bishop. So here after knight e5, for instance, bishop d5, e d5, not to lose the time, then knight to c4 is possible. So in this situation, white is only slightly better for sure, in my opinion. But if you put this position on engine, it will say, of course, 0, 0, 0. But from a practical point of view, it's slightly more pleasant to play it with white because you have very concrete object of attack on e7. You have no problems, no risk, while black struggles to find active counterplay. So for a dragon player, it is usually a nightmare because position is quite boring. All right, let's go further. It was the first game. Not very bad. Let's check if we have somebody else. I never ever played before Equator. So, the guy from Romania. Let us accept the challenge. So, white pieces. Let's play 4. Not sure that Fischer ever played against b6. Not sure. So how Fischer could have played it. So let's say just normal development. All right. Knight to f3 then. So it doesn't feel like b6 is a very useful move here for black, to be honest. Bishop to c4. Trollfjord Paddler says d4. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that Fischer played d4. Oh, second d4. Okay, got it. Got it. That's another story. Okay, where to put the bishop? On b5 or c4? It's a good question if black will have a good defense against f7 attack. So let's put the bishop on c4. Let's say if knight f6, I win immediately with the knight g5 move, because if compared to two knights defense, I have kind of extra piece on c3 already controlling d5 square. So It makes white's position, in my opinion, very promising already. Bishop b5 is also interesting. But in that case, well, I think white's play is not that straightforward. Here it is straightforward, and it is good because pawn on b6 is just a bad move. Bad pawn. Very strange one. So in open games, f7 is the most vulnerable point, so I will try to attack it with the bishop c4. Bishop to c5. All right, now d4 looks very tempting, followed by knight to g5. All right. So it's really tempting now to try a gambit. So d4, e4, knight g5, takes c3, takes f7 with a bishop. King goes away somewhere. Maybe it's not great for white. d4, e4, knight d5 looks also great, followed by bishop g5 or bishop f4. So various ideas there. So I think d4 is kind of a very natural move here. So let's do it. And say knight to d5. Very strange position. So now it's very interesting for me to try bishop to b5, let's say. Bishop to g5 still looks great. I don't know what is better, but everything looks more or less winning. Knight to g5 is also an interesting try. Followed by knight f7, let's say, or queen h5 or anything. So bishop g5 looks the most natural move to me. Let's try this one. Yeah. I have a feeling that f6 is the only move for black. Because knight f6 seriously weakens pawn structure. Knight to e7 probably loses after bishop b5. Queen d7 is super strange. So now our task is just to castle maybe and to open up a position as soon as possible. By the way, b4 is also an interesting idea at some point. So I have to think about it. So for example, if I play bishop d2 now, there is a threat of b4. So should I just play it or not? It's kind of tempo move, but bishop h4 looks a bit better than bishop d2 anyway. So let's have it on h4. After f6, diagonal h5, e8 becomes weak. Maybe at some point I will use it. Knight to a5. Okay, my bishop is under attack. It's a good idea just to go away, I think, because if bishop b5 then c6, not clear. So let's go away. Now b4 is my threat for sure. Now I can do it, right? If I want, but then bishop takes d5, I take the bishop goes away somewhere. I'm not sure that I achieve anything. So maybe it's better to start with just castling. Now I definitely want to play b4 because after bishop d5 I will probably take on d5. And this should be just bad. Should be just bad. G5, oh my god. Can't be good. Knight takes G5 takes, Queen H5 looks like an automatic reply to such a thing. But I'm not sure that I want to sacrifice anything here. So what do I just play? Bishop G3. I mean, Black's position looks so weak that I don't think I have to sacrifice anything here. B4 is still a threat. Maybe the idea was to play C6, in fact. Yeah, now I understand that. So now I have to play B4. Now I have to, simply. Now let's take here first. It's tempting to give a check now. With the queen or with the bishop from b5, I don't know. Let's activate the rook, I think. We can activate the queen somewhat later. Offering a draw. No. No draws. Fischer never accepted a draw. He played strong chess, aggressive chess. No draws. Simply no draws. No. Taking on g5 or taking on c5 first, or even taking on a5. What should be the correct move here? Everything looks super tempting. Let's take the bishop. Let's take here. Check. Let's take here first. Let's increase the pressure. Let's increase the pressure. Takes. Check. I was able, of course, to take the rook. But okay. This also looks winning. All right, very strange game, but all right, everything started with the b6 followed by e5. I mean, b6 is playable, but then e5 is very strange mix of several openings. Maybe I missed a chance to do something super aggressive already. Maybe d4 was great here, in fact. So it's a strange scotch with the pawn on b6. But then it is potentially possible to justify the move b6 with the help of ed4, knight e4, knight takes, queen takes, and bishop c5. And I'm not sure, okay, bishop c5 isn't possible, most likely because of queen g7, but who knows? Maybe black has some stupid counterplay. No, black doesn't. So, all right, that was playable. d4, bishop b5 was good. Bishop c4, I think, is also great. After this move, d4, ed4, maybe I should have played knight to g5. Maybe I should have played this, but I didn't see a concrete win here. Maybe I was just blind. So something like queen d5 looks great, bishop f7 looks great, everything actually looks great here, to be honest. But I'm not sure that white has a decisive advantage here. Okay. So at the d4, ed4, knight e5, black still had some chances, of course. After d6, probably bishop g5 was not a good move, was not in the spirit of this position. So I could have potentially played bishop b5. Maybe bishop b5 deserved attention here. So at least after knight e7, I win on the spot after b4. But bishop d7, I wasn't sure that I have a winning move. So I can take on c6 and play b4, but then bishop takes d5. So again, not entirely clear. Maybe knight g5 here was the best try. But then knight to e5. Okay, so it wasn't that clear, in fact. So I think the way I played was not the worst way of playing this position. So I provoked new weaknesses. And now even if I don't checkmate black immediately, still, this position is full of weaknesses. This extra pawn doesn't matter anyway. So that was the main reason why actually I won the game. Because, well, black played strangely, obviously. All right. One more game against the guy I never ever played before, and then we come back to the normal order of challenges. Just a second. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Okay, sorry, man. You are not a premium user, so I don't accept challenges from non-premiums. So decline. Just trying to clean the list, not to be confused, not to make my favorite mistake. Accepting the challenge from non-premium. So let's see. Edward, let me win. Okay. I found my next opponent. Accept and black. Now black. So e4, then c5. No, d4. Okay, Fischer played King's Indian defense, but I have no idea how to play that. Of course, he played, actually, Queen's Gambit declined. Probably. Probably not. All right. Experiment. Experiment. I have no idea how to play King's Indian defense. But I can try, at least. Benoni. Yeah, that's right, Benoni. He also played modern Benoni. That's a good idea, Trollfield Paddler, for the next game. Wish black against d4. So, bishop e3. Okay, d6. Knight to f3. So, mix of different ideas. When you put the bishop on e3, a good idea is to play h3 usually, or f3, Zemish, and so on. Knight f3 usually says no bishop on e3. It goes either to g5 or just stays on c1. Can I use this immediately, like knight g4, bishop g5, c5? Doesn't give me anything. Hard to say, but it's very tempting to try. Trollfjord Paddler says, right move order in Spirit of Fischer. Yes, I know that game, of course. When the guy played e5, knight e8, f4, and was crushed after d6 and c5. And I have a feeling that there will be something very similar to that. So white plays strangely, wasting the time. d5. So now, how to justify the position of the knight on g4? Maybe just f5, but this is super aggressive. But I want to try. I weaken e6, but I don't think it matters here, because I'll get very good development after e takes f5 and bishop takes f5, let's say. Letelier Fischer. Exactly. Classic game. On the topic how not to make too many pawn moves in the opening, although they look very tempting and aggressive. So I show this game to my students from time to time. Within the topic, the center. Okay. So now I can grab the pawn b2. I can grab b2 pawn after capturing on e4 twice. Should I do this or not? White will have some compensation. Surely some compensation. But okay, I'm greedy. So probably knight takes c4 is the only move that makes sense, because giving me the bishop in addition to the pawn b2 will be too generous. Okay, let's grab it. It's super risky, I know. I can be checkmated. So maybe it's better for me just to play knight e7, knight f6 quickly. No. Fischer never gave up on his ideas. h4 was a move, followed by h5. That was a good idea for white. Castling is just too passive for such a position. So by the way, after h4, h5, instead of castling, I could have been checkmated for sure. So all this idea of playing f5, then exchanging the knight f6, taking on b2, wasting the time on that was super dubious, because it leaves the king side absolutely abandoned. I realized that, but I just wanted to try. But white somehow decided not to punish me for that, and I'm happy. I'm happy he didn't. So now, of course, once my knight is on f6, I'm completely sure that I have the advantage. So now b6, very simple move. Now what? So knight to h5, knight to f4 looks tempting, but then knight goes to g5. Knight f4 takes, knight e6 takes, rook e6, bishop d4, so there will be a position with opposite colored bishops, in my opinion, quite promising for black, because black will have the object of attack on f2. On the other hand, white will also have the object of attack on g6, so I should be careful there. Maybe it's not that clear as I want it to be. Okay, bishop c3. Trying to exchange my King's Indian bishop. But what about rook takes f3 or bishop takes h3 here? Looks like I get some material again, especially after bishop takes h3. So one more pawn. I think it's playable. Let's do it. So 2 pawns now. 2 pawns now. I have a feeling I should do something with this knight on g5, but at the same time I don't really like the idea of playing h6 right now, so let's try to play in more solid way. Covering additionally e6, preparing queen f8, attacking f2. At some point I want to bring my knight to d4 through f5, also avoiding the exchange of that bishop for that knight, because if my knight gets to d4, I think my position will be dramatically improved. At least a feeling of this exists. Okay. Slightly passive, but I believe it's temporal. I believe it's just a temporal issue. All the pieces are coordinated. That's important. Right now, let's get rid of this guy. Starts being annoying. G5. Preventing knight to h4 mainly. And also thinking of getting back to f4 with the knight. Also an interesting idea. Interesting square. But I somehow missed bishop g6. That is a bit bad. But knight to f4 is playable. Bishop takes e8, I take on e2, with check, and then I take on e8. So that's okay. Queen e2 is better. Attacking e7, but even there I still have extra pawns, so should be winning for black. Gradually. Yeah. Lost position. So there was a strange mix of moves, bishop e3, knight f3. I'm not sure that I reacted the best way. So to bishop d2, maybe c5 is not the best move here. Maybe simple e5 is actually in the spirit of this opening. Just the intention is to play f5 immediately here. So it looks like I saved a lot of tempo on playing e5, then moving the knight somewhere, then f5, then coming back and so forth, because I actually did everything forcing the bishop away from e3. So I won one tempo, and it looks like I'm fine. Yeah, probably e5 was a move here. But as I said before, I'm not an expert of King's Indian, so I don't feel these things just like immediately. So I thought c5 would be also interesting. And now position reminds me of the old Benoni pawn structure, in which case f5 is kind of interesting idea, but maybe not in this case, maybe not in this position. So probably something like h3, b5 was interesting, but I wanted to justify the position on of my knight on g4. So, yeah. So the recommendation from Azure was bishop c1 and then h3. Okay, but here I still play this. I can still justify position of my knight there, because if you play h3, I can consider just taking on d4. And after knight takes d4, because if you take on g4, I take on c3. That was the idea behind c5 as well. So knight takes d4, I have this move. And I believe black starts actually feeling very good. Or maybe even queen to f6 is better. But I think forcing something like g3, if white wants to play g3, is also something natural. So like queen f6 now. If it takes, I take here. So I have a pleasant position, I guess. Not quite sure, but this pawn on g4 is strange. Maybe I have something better than that. So taking on f2 is probably just too much. After all, I can just go back to f6 or put my knight on e5 even. I think knight e5 is interesting. And now I exert pressure on c4. f4 is never a threat until white castled. I can play knight c6 next move, exchanging this knight on d4. And at some point I will play f5. So black has no problems whatsoever. So yeah, that was not very dangerous for black, I mean, because d4 is already under pressure. So it cannot be a good idea to play bishop e3, given the chance to play knight g4 and then going back to c1, at least here when I have concrete play against central pawns. So I know that it's normal when you play, for example, Kasparov against Kasparov variation in Sicilian. So you play bishop e3, knight g4, you can play bishop c1. But there is no pressure in the center. Here it's a bit different, so it's a different story. My bishop is already on g7, so this idea doesn't quite work. But then later, white had a real chance, because I played very dubious moves. And here, h4, I think, was just close to crushing attack. So then h5 and so on. So if I play bishop g4, okay, at very least you can grab the pawn back on b7. but I will not be terribly surprised if white can ignore this bishop g4 and play h5 anyway, sacrificing something. At least there is an interesting idea of playing queen c2, exert an additional pressure on g6, and then h5 may become a very annoying threat. Maybe taken on g6. Trollfield Paddler says h4, knight d7, h5, knight f6. Okay, let's see. I think it's also something very close to losing the game, because I can probably sacrifice this. And, well, maybe it's not that easy, of course. Maybe it's not that easy. It's okay. Knight d7, knight f6 is probably a resource. All right. Maybe h5 is not that great right away. But still, even if we, for example, play something like knight g5 here, if knight f6, then bishop d3, so what? Anyway, this weakness is a long-term weakness, so at some point there will be a threat of sacrificing something. Playing h5, let's say, next move, or even considering something like knight h7 at some point. Should be very bad for black. I mean, maybe black has some counterplay still. I'm not sure, but too many weaknesses. In my opinion, just too many weaknesses, and only one extra pawn doesn't compensate such a bad pawn structure. So that was a great chance. All right, thank you for the game. Come back to normal order of challenges, except Johann Wilhelm Möbius. e5. All right. So bishop b5, obviously. Knight f6 was not very popular when Fischer played bishop b5. So let's play d3 because it is probably something close to what Fischer sometimes played against normal lines of Ruy Lopez. So he used to play exchanged variation. So this line against Berlin is something really close to that, I think. Actually, Engine says white is much better until queen b3. Not a big surprise. I really played very badly in that line. And here I also mixed some ideas. I actually wanted to play something like with a3 move, but no longer makes sense actually. So let's play knight d2. But who cares what Engine says? When Fischer played, there were no engines. So let's forget about the engines. At least for one night. Okay, let me think what to do now. Let's try something crazy. Let's play this. And this. And this. Let's go attack him. Because I still can castle on at some point. Of course, not immediately because of bishop takes a3. But I guess it's just a question of time when I exchange that bishop. Well, actually, for now, my king feels not very bad on e1, even because position is closed in the center. All right. So now, to take with the pawn or to take with the queen? If I take with the queen, I think there will be queen to c5. That is basically the idea, to simplify a position. So probably I should try taking with the pawn, but in that case, it will be not that easy for me to come up with a breakthrough on the king side. But in any case, I don't want to exchange queens now. That's why I play f takes e3, because queen c5 was possible against queen e3 and my pawn on c2 was hanging, so I was literally forced in that case to exchange queens. Now I'm not, so I can protect the pawn. I can probably play c4 even, grabbing some space and tendon b4 and so on. But c4 is double-edged, so it weakens d3, and I'm not sure that it is a good idea because of that. So just moving the knight away looks natural, but I don't really move it at the moment. Castling lawn is a bit dangerous, I guess, because of my pawn on a3, and not only because of that. So no, just knight to f3, bishop e6, something like rook to g1 maybe. Yeah, let's try it. So at least c2 is protected, knight gets closer to the king, so it looks more or less okay. Rook to d8. Okay. It's time to bring the knight to f5, I guess. h6. All right, now it's not clear how to actually break that position. There are several ideas. I can play knight h4, knight g6 potentially, but again, I'm not sure that I achieve anything if black doesn't take on g6. d4 is another plan, absolutely different one. Maybe also interesting. And queen on c5 is a bit short of space now. So the knight on f5 controls a lot of squares. Would be interesting to try something like b4, but then queen goes to c3. So can I just play d4 now? I don't think so. There is a potential problem with queen c4 or something. Okay, so let's start with this move. Let's check if that works. Because if it doesn't, alright, at any moment I can go back. By the way, I can castle short now if I want. If there is a necessity of doing something like that, I can do it, basically. Alright, this is just very tempting now. And probably it is wrong, but what about this? b4 was a move, of course, I'm stupid. c4 was a mistake. c4 is a mistake. Very stupid mistake, because now black has a great counterplay, but probably just taking on g6 was better, because now I grabbed the exchange, which is at least something, but maybe it's still bad. Maybe it's still bad for me. Not clear, so let's go away. Now I'm almost blundering. Again, I missed rook to d1. Rook to d1 was great. Playing very badly this game. Just misplaying it. On each and every move, actually. Knight c5 is probably not that ambitious. It was interesting just to grab the pawn. What is this? What's that? I'm losing my queen somewhere, or what is going on? Don't quite understand. Strange move. Very strange move. Probably black missed something. I mean, I'm fine here. Now it's completely lost. All right, so taking on e4 was too much. Probably black wanted to do something like bishop d5, but queen b4. And I'm fine. There is no checkmate. There is nothing, absolutely. So I'm just a material up, okay? But was an interesting game. So this idea of queen b5 was very, very good. I mean, it provoked me to play c4, and this appeared very bad. So of course c4 is a mistake, giving black clear plan. I should have played b4 here, I think, controlling c5 square and creating a bunch of threats connected with the c4 now, because the queen will be misplaced, I guess. So now it really has not so much space at his disposal. So only a4 square looks more or less safe for now, but I'm not sure that it will be forever. So like, let's say a5, c4, queen here. I can play this move. Potentially. Okay, here I weaken my d3, but maybe it's not that critical if compared to that line. But who knows? Maybe it's still not that clear. Maybe it's still not that clear. Maybe I should have played something like castling long here. I don't know. Position is very complicated. Very complicated. I don't know. Rook b1 is definitely not a move. So yeah, maybe it's a good idea in general. So maybe I just actually underestimated it. So here, to prevent it, I should probably just castle. So most likely castling short here was the safe option. Because now if black does the same, I can probably do this without much worrying, because after rook c1, knight c5, I have rook c3. And here I'm much better, of course. Especially if queen goes here, I can play b4, forcing this knight away, and so on. Maybe here's knight d3, rook d3, bishop c4, but then, again, I'm not quite sure that it works. After knight d3, I probably have some sort of intermediate action. Then, let's say, takes here. Some interesting ideas are possible. Now I take here, bishop takes here, I take on f8, bishop takes f1, and knight to g6, followed by rook h8, checkmate. That would be just a masterpiece, I mean Blitz masterpiece. But it never happened in our game, because I actually underestimated this queen b5 move and never castled in this game. As for the rest, was very interesting. Thank you very much. But a few words about how black could have improved his play towards the end, closer to the end of the game. So knight c5 was an interesting try, great one. Probably it was even possible just to take here, because I'm not sure I have anything there. So takes knight c5. What is next? So it only looks very dangerous, but I don't think I have really something decisive, and black already has some concrete threats. So, I have no idea. Can I win this or not? Probably not. but black can win it for sure. That's the one possibility that deserves some check. But maybe after that I can play knight e7, but then king f7, knight takes g6. Okay, so probably I have this knight e7. So. All right, knight c5 was great anyway. Here I missed the chance to play knight to e7 check, and after king h7, I grabbed the f8 with check. Okay. Question from Twak, who's like check knight e7, then sacrifice the rook on h6. Okay, g takes h6, so what? Queen h2 there. Maybe that was interesting. Let's have a look at that. So in case bishop takes g6, I take, knight c5, check, here, takes, and queen h2. So if knight d3, I just play king f1, so it doesn't change the situation. There is a threat of queen h6, king g7, and checkmate on e7, right? Yeah. Checkmate on e7. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Twyfel's X, so it was very dangerous for black, in fact. Yeah, knight d3 is only one check after all. I have king f1. Great that you noticed that. So now I start thinking that probably this c4 wasn't that bad entirely. So knight to c5, okay. I could have played knight e7 here. The resource I missed because this forces the king to h7. Now I take with check. And, okay, if you want to play the rook down, I'm happy. But if you take on f8 with the rook, you no longer attack my d3. I mean, you attack it twice, but not 3 times, which is a big difference if compared to what happened in our game. Now, this great here, I just can castle. I'm just having extra material and, well, the same, but my king is safe. Yeah, I just completely missed this. So knight e3, king here. You could have captured on c4 right now, creating a threat of just knight f4, let's say. I cannot play king g2 now. I was not sure what to do even here. I don't know. King g1 looks like only move to avoid the complications. But here you have so many different tempting continuations. I doubt that I can survive it. So knight f4 to start with. Knight to c1. Knight to c1 is probably just a great move here, just breaking my rook and my king, and then rook to d1. Oh my god, I cannot look at this position, so it's just so lost. So you actually gave me one tempo, very valuable one. So I gave you the one when I took on f8 immediately, instead of playing knight e7 first, you gave me also the one, but still your position looks great. And here, again, it feels like something like knight takes b2 was interesting, knight to c1 was interesting as well. But here knight to c1 is no longer that efficient as one move ago because my king is on the second rank, right? So that's the problem. That's the problem. So king f8 probably spoiled your position. So I think just bishop c4 should be just winning. Feels like winning position for black, simply. Okay. Yeah. Nice game. Interesting one. Thank you. Butterfly. Accept. White pieces. e4. French defense. So guys, check the database. What did Fischer play against this? Definitely not this line, I guess. Maybe bishop g5, right? In general, not f4. Not e5, sorry. Bishop g5, most likely. He also used to play some strange things like bishop d3, as far as I remember. Maybe not in that position. what are we going to do here? What are we going to do? Let's play bishop d3. So question from Azur, what's White's plan in this line? Just like in each and every French position, White's plan is to set up a blockade on dark squares to prevent the activation of light squared bishop c8 and just to squeeze black. Ideal scenario is when I have the knight against that bishop, and my knight should be on d4 in that case. So I'm trying to achieve something like this. Okay, if in this situation my queen is already on f2, I can play bishop h7, but my queen is still on d2. So to put the knight on d4 or not, the knight e4 becomes possible. Not sure if that's so dangerous, so let's try it. So we're close. We're close to ideal scenario. With the knight on d4 blockading everything. No, White doesn't have to attack the king. Doesn't have to. It depends on Black's choice mainly, because sometimes the attack against the king is the best possible plan. But in this particular case, for example, I can easily imagine the play on the queen side, because my king is already on b1. I can play rook c1. I can attack the knight c5 at some point. This pawn on d3 is very useful thing to control e4. Almost any endgame will be better for White because of that guy on c8. If you really want to understand French pawn structure, just look at several games that Anand played many years ago actually against Bariev. So those games are just classics. So that is the plan, that is the idea. Great play on dark squares and so forth. Okay, now g4 f5 looks like an option for me. Additionally, should I play rook c1 right now or not? I'm not sure. It cannot be a bad move, cannot be a bad idea actually, but I'm not sure that I actually need it so badly. So maybe just g4 f5 now. There are no threats, I guess. Except for bishop d7, bishop b5. But in that case, if my pawn is already on f5, I will have some interesting ideas. Let's try it. Well, when you already have the pawn on d3 and such a setup like my knights, I think exchanging queens is very natural. So it guarantees very annoying slight advantage that White has. So after that, so in general, so the best thing I can do here is just to exchange everything except for my knight against the bishop. And then my king just goes through dark squares and I win. That's the idea. Sometimes it's also okay to have one pair of rooks on the board, in addition to the knight against the bishop. That's what I mean. All right, let's go. Let's go try it. So now d3 is hanging. But can I checkmate black? Maybe I can play f6 now. Bishop d3, king a1. I don't see a checkmate. Let's try it. Yeah, it's a bit risky what I try here, but it looks interesting. Maybe queen g5 was a bit better, but I was a bit afraid of leaving b2 prematurely. But this should also give me some play, because now inevitably dark squares are being weakened. And my knights are here around just to jump there. Just want to get rid of this bishop because it covers g7. Want to play h5, and then if it's possible just bring the queen to f4. But okay, can be parried with knight to e4 move, but after that the bishop will be quite limited. So even in that case I will have some good chances, I suppose. So let's see how this works. Where it all leads, where it all goes. So black has extra pawn after all, but this pawn is completely blockaded on d5 with my knight on d4. And I really made much more in the sense of attack on the king side than black did in the sense of attack on the queen side. So I think white should have at least the initiative here. Okay. Now it looks really risky for black. Let's take it. And g-file will be used. G-file will be used now. How? Just rook to g1? Yeah, I guess. Just rook to g1, attacking g7. After g6, I think I have queen to h6, right? It's just a checkmate next move. Yeah. It's over. It's over now. Dark squared strategy. Dark squared strategy against French. Oh, thank you. No more checks. Queen g7 is coming. Not sure how to improve black's play here, so I'm not an expert in this particular line, but what I can definitely say that white has very pleasant position here. So maybe d4 should be considered here, but in that case, I can most likely just play knight to e4 with similar ideas, and I should be just slightly better. Okay, knight b4 cannot be a bad move, but after knight d4, black's play should be improved somehow. So knight to e4, I think I just takes, and I can even play knight to b3 here. I can even do this. So now rook is hanging, queen is hanging, so rook d2 is necessary. I take here. Now probably e3. No, e3, knight c4. Attacking the rook. Anyway, black is forced to do this. I have a threat of rook d8, and I take the pawn. The same, by the way, happens if after rook d1, black takes immediately. I take on d1. There is a threat of a checkmate, and then I take on e4. So knight e4 probably doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I don't know. Knight takes d3, cd3, a6, knight e2. Maybe it was okay just to take here. But as I said before, this type of endings is usually very pleasant for white. It's very clear plan. White just plays using dark squares, tries to actually hold this knight on d4. At some point, b4 is played. The best thing that white can achieve here is, of course, if black plays something like b5. It's just amazing, amazing position after b4. So this bishop is completely limited with its own pawns. So that is what white is really happy usually to achieve. So b5 should be avoided. So probably something like bishop d7 should be played here. Where after I can try rook to c1. You can try rook to c8. To know which one, probably this one. So I cannot play rook c2 right now because if knight takes d3, so I have to spend some time to protect d3 to double my rooks along the c file. So I think position is more or less balanced. In fact, white is not that better. Maybe slightly more pleasant situation, not more than that. So that's deserves attention. Let's go further. Next one is Phenomenon, accept. Playing with black. So DCF Matrix Strategy says Fischer played some Elohim defense games too. Right. Let's do it. But I have no idea how to play this. Just like King's Indian defense. I only saw this position from White's perspective many times, to be honest. But from Black's perspective, only in some Blitz games. Not more than that. All right. So the basic idea here is to play d5 at some point and then to attack d4 pawn. Oh, queen d2 is strange, a bit. Because it's a normal square for the knight. Now I can probably play bishop g4. And I already have a threat of just grabbing the knight and c4 will be handy. Which probably forces White to play b3. Against which I can play e5. And this diagonal h8, a1 will be quite weak. So queen d2. Queen d2 is not a move here. I think h3 was an interesting idea with the plan of putting the knight on c3. Knight to d2 is a move. Just overprotecting everything. But queen d2 is just not from this opening, I would say. Here I just take on f3. If d6, I just take bishop takes c6. And if bishop takes f3, I have knight to e5, attacking the pawn on c4 twice already. There's bishop on f3, so intending to grab it and damage the pawn structure. So black already has the advantage. Now the question, to take on c6, winning the pawn this way, or taking on e2, taking on c6, which is also another way of winning the pawn. So in general, I should reduce the pressure on my position, I guess. So let's do this. But now cb7 is possible. Bishop f1 takes a8, takes a8, takes f1, takes c4. Okay, still fine. Fischer makes every opening look good. That's a great expression, Azur. So yeah. So for example, yeah, I love this story when like Kirshnoy used to ask young players, why do you play this King's Indian defense? It's just a complete crap from a strategic point of view. And young players responded like, okay, but Fischer played King's Indian defense. How this could be a crap? And he said Fischer played King's Indian defense. Fischer played a lot of other stuff. He just played strong because he was Fischer at first place. So he could have played anything he wanted. So the fact he played something doesn't mean it was good in general. So he simply played very good. So bishop takes b6. All right, I take with the queen. Attacking b2 now. It's even better for me because now it feels like I win even more material than I expected. Takes b7. Okay, now what? Now I take here. Now I just take here. And it's over. I take here and take on b2. with a queen, right? Yeah, why not? Attacking the rook on a1 twice. It's over now. Queen d5 doesn't quite help because it just go away with the rook and it's over. Time to resign. Time to resign. All right. So, White's problem started after Queen d2 move. That is a bad choice. So here, White has central pawns d4, c4 that are quite vulnerable at the moment, and White has to do everything to protect them, to overprotect them, and so forth. So h3 deserves attention here. Just a good move. Normal move, preventing bishop g4. Maybe knight to d2, but when you play knight to d2, usually you have the bishop on b2 after b3, I think. So bishop on e3 is a bit misplaced in this case. So I would have played this. h3, although I think black is already doing well after both e5 or d5. So in general, this order of moves is not the best. It's not very promising. So one thing which is recommended is to play, if you play this line, with c4, d4, if I'm not mistaken, you develop your pieces of the queen side first, or something like this. Not even playing knight to f3, but knight to c3, g6, now bishop e3, bishop here, rook to c1, and then you see what black does. Because this helps you usually eliminate this bishop g4 plan, and you're much better prepared for anything in the center when it happens. So you make the moves that you will make anyway later, and here you save some flexibility, like in the sense of h4, g4, and so forth. Okay. So let's go. Here after bishop g4, just one more comment about this. Bishop f3, if you take on f3, let's say. First of all, you're probably forced already to take with the pawn if you don't want to lose the material or damage the pawn structure completely, because after knight e5, I have a sort of just taking here, taking on b2, and taking on f3. And again, bishop b6 doesn't really help because I can take here first. And after that, queen takes b6, black has strategically winning position. All right. Okay. Shelling Ford is the next. Accept. So Fischer, Karakan, Fischer played Panova attack. I know that Shelling is well prepared against this, but he plays a5. What's wrong? What's wrong? New opening, or probably just helping me playing the Fischer style. Don't know. If yes, it is very generous. Or maybe, well, black just prepared something in this exchanged variation. All right, queen f6 is my favorite move against exchanged variation. So let me remember the things here. Black has no problems here at all in this line. That's why I love this queen to f6 line. But f6 is not very popular move. Actually, black tries to get the advantage of not playing f6 in this situation, so avoiding this move at all. Okay, but of course it's not a mistake whatsoever. So let's play bishop e3. Let's play rook to d1. Really hard to achieve anything here, of course, usually, but we will try. So we can notice here there is no pawn on c5, which is typical thing for classic line. So I have no possibilities like sacrificing something on c5, let's say, which Fischer did in one of his games. Yeah. My resources are limited here if compared to classic exchanged. But c5 is played, actually. That is very strange. So I expected something like knight g6, in fact. So now I'll have some play, I guess. Let's go to d5. Yeah, I lost the tempo, no questions on knight e2 move. But it anyway worth trying to occupy d5 after all. I don't think c5 is a good move. So knight g6 was great for black. Knight g6 was just great. I mean, very nice move. Bishop d6 gives me the pawn. It's a famous trap, or maybe I'm trapped or something, but I don't know. But now I'm just a pawn up. Probably Shalin didn't prepare anything. He just played that to help me play in the Fischer style. Because he knew that, well, in Panova attack I will have no chances. All right. Let's capture it. It may be not so easy, so let's put it on d5 instead. And let's take here. All right. Understandable. But what about this? Oops, there was a mistake. Super blunder. I mean, c4 was possible. Oh my goodness. I missed that move completely. I could have been lost. Just, I'm so lucky here. I mean, c4 was possible. Oh my god. And my knight was limited completely. Oh man. I was close to losing. I'm still quite close to losing this, by the way. Because I gave my opponent absolutely unnecessary counterplay after winning the pawn for nothing. Amazing. That is the lesson how the things can be misplayed. Now it's not clear to me how to win this game. Maybe it's no longer winning. Maybe it's just lost. Because too many pawns. Maybe it's just lost. So I play f4, c3, f5, c2. I'm obviously lost. Yep. Now it should be just a draw. Okay, I lost some time, but that's obviously a drawish position, absolutely. But it was absolutely winning for me. It was absolutely winning for me many moves ago. So after knight takes b6, it was so winning, and I'm so badly misplayed it. Wow, I did it again. I did it again. Look at this. Look at this position. Rook takes d6. My goodness, it's so winning. So king to c7. Okay, bishop f4 was probably not a mistake. After knight e5, they only think, why I captured it, giving black obvious chances, obvious counterplay. Yeah, bishop here, knight to e5. I should have played this move, of course. So rook to d2. Bishop a4, I just take it. Now the rook is protected twice. And I have the time. I have the time to solve my problem. So if king goes away somewhere, I just take on e5, then f3, and time to resign for black, in fact. All right. Yeah, completely misplayed it. Completely misplayed, absolutely winning position. Okay, but by the end it was a draw, right? So let's have a look. King h7, king d3, h6, king e4. Yeah, the king is far away. Already a draw. Or not. Let me check just a few things. No, it should be a draw, of course. Should be just a draw. Yeah, just a draw. Azurmis says, no, it was not a draw. How wasn't it? How was this not a draw? Tell me. What's wrong with me? How is that not a draw? I don't understand. King g6? Oh, king g6 maybe. King g8. Now king h6. King h8 and here. Yeah, it's not a draw. It's not a draw. I misplayed it twice actually here by playing king to the h file. Oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. After rook g2, of course, king f6. Yeah. I deserve this loss, actually. I deserve this loss. It's not a draw. Yeah. King f6 was a draw. Right? Yeah, it should be. Should be. Yeah, so king d2, let's check. Takes, h6. King d3, h7. Yeah, now it's a draw. Of course. Obvious one. Oh, I'm so stupid in this game. I was so fucking stupid. I'm so sorry for that. All right. Let's play Shroomel. Have to learn some endings. But anyway, who cares? If I would have like king to f6 anyway, I had just 2 seconds on the clock. Come on. Okay, Fischer used to play this 3 pawns. He used to play the 3 pawns as far as I remember. But I have no idea what to play here. No idea. Because, well, I used to play 3 pawns against Perk. But many years ago, I forgot everything. I forgot everything I knew. So, I have no idea. Let's play bishop e3. So, does the knight jump to d4 or to b4? No, just to e7. Modest move, which is probably also good. If I take on e5, black obviously captures on e4, so it's not a move right now. So let's play queen d2. I guess against bishop b3, bishop g4 was the most promising try. So first exchange in the knight on f3, and then playing e5 and getting with the knight to d4. And maybe it is even the main line, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe. And black should be fine there. Because what we have now on the board looks very promising for white. So I'm going to take here. Maybe it's a mistake. But I have some ideas. G takes f5. Now d6 looks interesting, so queen d6, bishop c4, queen d6, bishop e7 wins some material, but after d6, cd6, bishop c4, king simply goes away, then I play knight d5, and something goes back to f6, I take on f6, h6 might be hanging, but position is not clear. Position is not clear. But it's very tempting to try it. Maybe I should start with bishop c4, intending that. Maybe I should just try bishop c4 and castling first. Very hard choice. Very hard choice. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Check. King h8. So this simplifies my task. I expect a king h7 protecting h6. Oh, after knight e5, there is no queen a5. I'm just hallucinating. My queen is on d2. Come on, that was my idea behind taking on f5. And this looks nice now. So why king h7? Because in that case it was possible to play knight to f6. And if I take on f6, h6 is not hanging. But even there, I wanted to take on f6 twice, and then some like knight takes c5 guaranteed some small advantage to me because of the pawn structure. All right. Now it should be a bit easier for me to play. In addition to knight takes e7, I have very promising h3 move here. But then e4 should be considered, which is, I don't think, a good idea for black in general. So, okay, let's try. At least it is funny. Not completely calculated or something, but come on. Should be good. And here I wanted just a castle. Just a castle, and then I will take on e7, take on h6, and we'll crush black. Very soon. Maybe I even have some ideas connect with queen takes h6 at some point. Of course, my king should be on b1 for that to work. But that is also something interesting that can happen in this game. What happened? Bishop e6 was played. Okay, now, guys, bishop f6. Bishop f6 looks crushing. Let's crush. Okay, so Fischer played rook to f6. I decided to put the bishop there, which is also not that bad, actually. So now bishop f6, queen h6, and goodbye. Nice game. Nice one. Yeah, it's over. So actually, what happened here? I think black a bit misplayed it. Was too aggressive in the opening. So here, I guess after bishop e3, bishop g4 is a move. I might be wrong, but it's an interesting idea to exchange this knight. Let's say if I play h3 especially, queen f3 and e5 then. Because if I do the same, there is knight to d4. And if I'm not mistaken, it is considered a normal position for black according to the theory, because black starts some undermining activities very soon while it's still not castled. Should be more or less okay. But as far as I remember, I had some experience in this position. It was not entirely dry and it was just okay. I played positional chess. I no longer wanted to castle in such a situation. I mean, castle long. I just castled short. In many cases, black played something like c6, d6, bc6, so this pawn structure was also not that great. Okay, the only problem for me was this knight on d4 usually, but I somehow tried to go around this knight and I was more or less fine there. But this e5 immediately, probably also okay, but you should understand that in this situation you may have some problems. I still believe that c6 is better than what you did. So c6 undermining the pawn, trying to get f5 square at least for your knight in case of exchange on d5. I don't know, maybe I would have played something like bishop h6, maybe something else. But after knight g4, bishop g5, and this, I already saw this motive like recognized the possibility of playing d6, knight d5. And to make it work, I needed your pawn on f5 to prevent g5. Although it could have worked even immediately, maybe. But this, in my opinion, was the best option. So here I expect king h7. King h7, knight d5. Now we can play knight f6. This is what I calculated. Maybe I miscalculated something, but I saw something like this, rook f6, and knight takes c5. Possibility because queen is not protected on d8. I wanted to play this. But maybe I miscalculated it because here black has, unfortunately, this bishop e6 move, attacking my bishop. I mean, my knight cannot go away because of bishop takes c4. And if I take here, of course, you take, and my knight drops. So that was a miscalculation, which means actually king h7 was absolutely playable alternative. And I'm not sure that I have complete compensation here for missing material. So most likely the whole idea was not quite working. Okay. All right. So the last game, guys, Trollfjord Paddler, accept. d4, knight f6. Okay, take two. Ultra modern way of playing against King's Indian. No, it's actually anti-Grunfeld. It's anti-Grunfeld mainly. All right. So it builds up Zemish setup against King's Indian and very promising position in case black plays Grunfeld. Okay, as far as I remember, one of the plans here is to try to play b7, b5. And if this, then white will no longer castle, I have a feeling. And I can bring the knight to b4. Who knows? Maybe it matters, maybe not. Bishop e2. So white decides to castle short, I think. Let's try this e5. I think if we come up with the exchange on d4, black will benefit from it because the pawn structure is somewhat compromised here on the queen side. After d5, all right, what to do? I can probably play c5 completely closing the queen side forever. I'm not sure it's a timely decision, so let's play knight h5 first. Let's see what white wants to do. Okay, just castles. f5 is early, I guess. But knight f4 is just okay. So white gave me a lot in this position. So f5 now? No. I can actually grab that bishop at some point. I think it will be a good idea. Although it is stupid, but it is a good defender of light squares in general. But first I want to complete a development or something. Now, PTI lost to Lucas. A winning position would have been just an ideal session. But I spoiled it. For no reason. Well, now I can see one interesting but double-edged decision. It is a knight to c5. Why double-edged? Because after bishop takes c5, dc5 pawn structure is not so clear to me. I mean, if white takes on c6, at some point it's clear that I'm fine. Because white's knight have no strong points. But after knight c5, bishop c5, dc5, if white plays something like d6, it's also clear I can blockade that pawn after all. But if white just keeps this pawn on d5, it may be a bit annoying for me, maybe not. But in general, I want to grab this dark squared bishop mainly. So knight c5, I create a sort of knight b3. if takes on f4 twice. Okay, I'm maybe not that against. Yeah, let's try it. It's an interesting try. Was okay completely to take on e2, of course, but I would be happy to grab dark squared bishop, because white will be playing with a stupid light squared bishop, and dark squares will be very weak. It's like double trouble. Queen c2. Okay, now it feels like f5. Or just knight takes e2. Or just queen to g5. Queen to g5 looks like a move as well. Yeah, I guess this is a move. I create a positional threat of knight h3 and queen takes e3, grabbing the bishop I wanted to grab. At the same time, I create a better-like tactical threat of taking on g2. Alright, that is what I wanted to achieve, actually. So now I just take with the pawn, activating my stupid King's Indian bishop. Now it's just a great King's Indian bishop. I have a great outpost on e5 for it. And this looks like a strategically winning position. Let's bring it to e5. Great dark squared blockade. And the rest is simple. I just have to come up with a pawn storm. On the king side at some point, white has no counterplay whatsoever. So let's regroup the pieces a bit. So I need some space for my pawns here. My queen is no longer that needed there. Queen can actually occupy this nice position. I'm not in a rush, so I will just do one step at a time. And of course with the pawn, controlling this d5 and b5 squares. So, white has no useful moves, no activity, nothing, absolutely super annoying position. I can even imagine, I cannot even imagine how white feels now. Because there is nothing to do, complete domination. Complete domination. Now I think it's time, right? g5, h5, g4. Maybe there is something better to know. Let's improve rooks first. Queen to b3 is also a nice move. Yeah, maybe without the queens it will be even easier for me. Because there is, after all, just a concrete object of attack. It is b2 pawn as well. The king in general on the other side, so it can be just like principle of two weaknesses. So we will start with the attack against already existing weakness on b2, and then if necessary we will open up a position on the king side. Yep. A rook to d6. Okay, maybe I missed a resource. So bishop d6, queen d6 position is not so clear. not so clear. So let's take here. Let's take there, just to simplify the things. And take here. Regaining the pawn and attacking c3. I'm still better. Could have been much better, of course, than this. So I just missed this sacrifice on d6 at the right moment. Probably it was nothing. Probably I could have captured material, but I decided to eliminate the risk. So bishop is still very bad there. The knight is also very, very ugly. So it should be still winning. Should be still winning. Yeah, my king on e5. I love this position. I love this position. Okay, so maybe not very good conversion, but it was interesting how white was actually outplayed. So the very, very beginning of the game, because the rest was very simple for black. So probably this a4 was already, well, not so clear to me. Maybe it's okay. I'm not sure. I don't know this area here, but all right. At least it helps me fix the pawn the way I want it. And then after that, e5. Looked very natural to me, but maybe I slightly underestimated the possibility of taking on e5. So here, after this exchange, I have, after all, very weak dark squares. So maybe something like, I don't know, bishop b6 or maybe c5 followed by knight a3 and knight c4 deserves serious attention. So probably e5 is not that great. But after d5, everything is completely justified. I believe after d5, black is already doing well. It's probably not the advantage whatsoever, but it's already quite pleasant position. So here, again, I believe it was better to stop me from playing knight f4, just g3, normal move, maybe intending to play even f4 at some point. Looked very nice for white. Castling just gives me a lot. So after knight f4, I already felt very, very comfortable. So I understood that at least I grabbed one of the bishops, at least this light squared, which is stupid, but that is also great. I mean, just imagine once I start f7, f5 play, and position becomes more and more open, it will be very, very important actually to have this advantage of two bishops. I mean, to have light squared bishop with no counterpart. Because one of the main drawbacks of playing f7, f5 in such a situation, that white can usually just take on f5, and if I take with the bishop f5, bishop d3, exchanging bishops, and then this great outpost on e4, so white has just a great advantage. If there is no light squared bishop, the situation changes, of course, so it's no longer that bad for black. In fact, it's very good to play f5. So light squares are under control, that's the point. But even better, of course, is to grab the dark squared bishop, so I was really happy to see this queen c2. Because after that I have this tempo move queen g5. Now I have two threats, just a checkmate or knight h3, and then takes on e3. So there is only one sensible reply, I think, takes here, and after e takes f4. This is a strategically winning position for black, because this knight on c5 cannot be actually kicked away, can be only exchanged. My bishop gets to e5, another great outpost. I control all the dark squares in this position. Pawns are fixed on light squares, making this bishop very bad. And the pawn structure is, in general, very good for black, because white's knights have no strong points here, absolutely. So you have multiple possibilities here, lots of different plans, including pawn storm on the king side and simple pressure on the queen side. White really struggles to achieve anything here, and the further play just proved it. In any case, many thanks for this game. It appeared very instructive. I think you learned a lot, and everybody learned a lot from this one. Probably, well, guys, you learned a lot from the whole session. You know, if it was like playing like a Fischer, or it was like, I don't know, playing like a Pats or Andrey Ostrovskiy, In any case, many thanks for supporting me, for being with me, for spending your time on my shows. Wish you all the best, wish you a great weekend, and see you very, very soon. Bye bye.